Ladies and gentlemen, Luke Mankin. Luke, having you here in Camden today is very exciting. I'm sure this question has been asked a number of times. Why on earth did you become a chef?
Well, firstly, what a great meal that the guys have done. I thought the food was fantastic, simple, seasoned well, and tasted great. You know, it was a little bit by luck, to be honest. I hated school. I spent more time outside the classroom and disrupting the class, and the teachers thought it was best I get out of school. And to be honest, it was the best thing that's ever happened to me. I really fell into a cooking apprenticeship. I did some work experience at school and then fell into a cooking apprenticeship at a great restaurant in Melbourne. And, you know, I must admit that I didn't enjoy the 4 years of apprenticeship because I was washing pots bigger than I and peeling bags of onions and carrots and prawns and taking the rubbish out and washing dishes. So, you know, looking back now, I really think if I hadn't have done that level of training, I wouldn't be sitting in front of you guys now. So, over the time, I just sort of fell to love what I do now, and I'm very lucky to be able to do that.
Being a chef, there's a lot of hard hours, a lot of hard work. As you said, you put the foundation in as an apprentice. What is the best thing that you feel personally is the best thing about your job now as Luke Mankin, a highly awarded, recognised television personality, a spokesperson? You know, there's got to be something that's really outstanding for you right now.
I think it's coming to do things like this, to be honest. I mean, you know, all the TV fluff and puff and things like that. It's all good to build up a brand and get where you are, I guess. But, you know, we've had the Appetite for Excellence program running for about 15 years, the Inspired series for nearly 4. And it's, I guess, I'm lucky enough to be able to pick up the phone to a great chef or restaurateur in Australia and say, hey, we need some help to motivate, innovate and educate some young kids in the industry because, you know, the dropout rate is very high. We all know that. There's reasons for that. I don't think we as chefs and restaurateurs sell our business well enough. I mean, if you think what you can do in this industry and what I've been lucky enough to achieve, you travel the world, meet great people, have restaurants on cruise ships and airlines and things like that. There is so much you can do, but I think what we need to tell, whilst TV reality shows are great, it can give a different look on the industry, the glamorous side. And, you know, as in any industry, nothing is really glamorous all the time, I would imagine. So, hours are long and the work is hard, but I've got this theory for you. It's like making a chicken stock. What you put into that chicken stock, the freshest of carrots, celery and herbs and garlic and onions and bay leaves and thyme, and you nurture that stock to cook and get all those beautiful flavours out. What you put into that stock is what you'll get out of it, and that's what I try to tell young kids. The work commitment you put into anything, whether it's cooking, journalism or whatever it may be, you've got to put in something to get it out.
The video that we just saw with the Inspired series is fantastic. What was in your mind when you started thinking about creating that whole series?
Well, I was lucky enough to know Richard Branson through Virgin and the connections there. Our dropout rate was incredibly high. You know, we know over 50% of apprentices drop out of the apprenticeship. So you've got to think of how can we improve that? What can we do? So I thought by starting the Inspired series where I can get my connections, great chefs and restaurateurs, to sit in a panel like this and talk in front of young kids who are at that age between 15 and 17, thinking what they're going to do instead of university, or we don't want them to go to university, we want them to get into our trades, and give them the idea of what they can do. And as I was saying before, in any industry there's ups and downs. So launching this series, the Inspired series, in 2015 with Richard Branson, me asking him questions, I mean, you can't pay for that sort of thing. It was pretty bloody incredible. And his passion and commitment and the time he gave to all those kids was pretty cool. So it was all about just trying to encourage them. And yes, you know, getting Pete Gilmore, Guy Grossi, all the top chefs in Australia up on a stage, and having them tell their story of the ups and downs, it sort of resonates with them, I think, I hope. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I can see that you're actually inspired. We've got two now. No, I can see now that you were actually inspired by speaking to Richard Branson. So when you were younger, I know that I was inspired by my father and grandfather who were chefs. Who inspired you? Was there a leading light that inspired you as a young person or a young chef?
I think, working, when I started my apprenticeship at 15 and seeing all the chefs in that kitchen, working the hours they were and how passionate and committed they were to creating food on a plate, creating an experience. I think chefs nowadays sometimes forget what the restaurant business is all about. It's not just about the food. It's about the whole package, the whole experience, the music, the lighting, the wine list, the flowers. And we, me learning that through my apprenticeship was quite inspiring, and learning off these people, I thought it was pretty cool. I was very lucky to be able to do it.
Who inspires you now? As I look around the room, there's a lot of business people in this room that have had wonderful careers. As a local person, I'm inspired by what they've done with their businesses, where they've taken themselves. Is there someone now that inspires you?
I think anyone who can keep a restaurant doors open for 3 years.
Oh, 4!
Good on you.
I'm inspiring Luke.
And I say that because it's tough, and I think you know how much hard work goes into it, and you know that, and I think it's a great industry to be part of. It's a great satisfaction, but going back to commitment and working hard, you've got to put things into it to get out of it. So yeah, I think with the Inspired series, we take students on produce tours. And you meet the supplier, the producers who grow bananas, and the farmers and the fish and everything like that. We went to Camden in Western Australia a few years ago, and I met this crazy banana farmer, and he's out there slashing, the banana clip. And I had one of those bananas, and it was one of the best bananas I've ever had in my life. Something so simple, and you think sometimes we go to these supermarkets and we see a green banana and taste it and things like it's just not there. And the amount of commitment and passion that guy had for those bananas was, wow, it just blew me away. And that's just a simple bloody thing, isn't it?
What do you think's contributed to your personal success? You've got likability, you're a hard worker. What else has contributed to your personal success?
I really just fell into the industry, I think, and never strived for money, to be honest. It's never been part of what we've done. I guess if you create a successful business, and the old saying goes, if you build it, they'll come. It doesn't happen all the time. I've had a few cracks at some restaurants that have gone bad as well. But I think just having a crack and having a go and being passionate, that word again, but yeah, and enjoying what you do. You've got to enjoy it, don't you? Yeah.
But pitfalls along the way, I mean, as you just alluded to, you have encountered your fair share of pitfalls. Have any of them been really to that point where you may have second-guessed yourself? Have there been times where you've maybe put yourself in a position where you go, "Whoa, what was I thinking?"
This morning? No. I think, you always do. And I think it gets harder as you get a bit older as well, your confidence, and there's all these younger people coming through in the industry as well. And food's different, from molecular cooking to different styles of cooking.
So, and there's Google reviews now.
Yeah, exactly, and all these sorts of things. So, yeah, it's harder, but you just got to keep having a crack, I reckon. What else am I going to do?
What do you think, with the crystal ball, what do you think the biggest achievement of your life is so far, and where does that journey go from that?
I think finishing my apprenticeship was a good thing because it was a tough apprenticeship. And then there was a 3-star Michelin in London called the Waterside Inn, and I wanted to work there because Michel Roux had been in Australia promoting his first cookbook sometime before. And I wrote to him and asked for a job. I wanted to really work in this 3-star Michelin after my apprenticeship. And about 6-8 weeks later, I got a letter coming back saying, no, it's a 2-year wait list and you're on that wait list, there's no chance. And, I went home, spoke to Mum about it, and eventually, that was night time in Melbourne, we rang through to London, got through to the Waterside Inn, to the kitchen, and I asked to speak to Michelle Roux, and I actually got it in the morning. I think he was very surprised. And then I said, I got your letter, thank you, it was great, but I really want to come. And he said, no, it's a 2-year wait list, we've got to be fair to the others. And I said, okay, fair enough. Something made me think, and I said, what about I come work a month without pay, and if I'm any good, you give me a job. And he said, we'll see you next week. So I don't know what made me say that, work a month without pay, but he gave me that opportunity, and I took that opportunity, and I ended up staying for 3 years in a 3-star Michelin restaurant, and again, would not be sitting here in front of you guys if I hadn't have had that experience. So I think, for me, a lot of luck and a lot of perseverance and commitment, hard work has got there, but right place, right time is also a good thing.
And also having that passion, even though you might think back now, I wouldn't work for nothing now.
I would.
But, so there you go, that just shows that there's something different about the way that you think. Because a lot of young people too today still won't do a trial. But then you also have unscrupulous businesses that want to get them in for free, and so there is that overly zealous dedication that you showed that you wanted that job. So I think that's really something to be applauded, because you were prepared to go out there and say, I want it.
Yeah, I'm sure most people too would do the same.
We've got a little bit of time for some questions, and then desserts being served. And Luke's already said at the table that he was really looking forward to dessert, so we don't want to keep you too long. But we do have some time if you'd like to ask some questions from the floor.
It's when the room goes quiet, isn't it?
Luke, how did you survive in London earning no money for a month?
Yeah, I borrowed some money off my mum, and
This is the police. He's just making sure that everything was above board.
there were a few dodgy episodes, but no, I borrowed some money off Mum. They gave me rent, they gave me accommodation in Fetters, thank God for that. And then just, you worked, it was about £100 a week, 6 days a week. I remember my first day, I started at 7 a.m. and finished at 1 a.m. And you would do that 6 days a week. And I'm not promoting that, I don't think, back then, and what I wanted, if it's something I wanted to do, I think our industry's changed now and changed for the better, where there's a work balance and things like that. So, yeah, sometimes I wonder how I survive now.
Thanks.
Better ask a question. In terms of technology, since Starbucks now, there's been a whole range of changes in technologies of cooking, you mentioned what we're doing there. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, I sort of was taught classic French cooking and then modernised as I went along. I've not been one to follow trends in cooking because I'm not sure. I think cooking, you've got to understand the ingredients. You've got to understand the flavour. That native, Australian native ingredients people use, and great, we do use some. However, when that fad was coming along, chefs were just using bits of everything and putting it on a plate and thinking, bingo, I'm using native ingredients, and it's going to work. It doesn't work like that. You've got to have that balance and skill. So, I read a lot still. I look at Instagram, I look at photos, all that, modern stuff nowadays, and see what else everyone else is doing. But I think in cooking, or in the restaurant business, in serving, you've got to have a foundation. You've got to learn a foundation. Once you have a foundation, you can sort of spread from there.
Luke, with all your business activities, how do you ensure that quality is maintained to your level?
I'm very lucky that I have chefs in head chef roles who have worked with me for 15, 18 years who have come up through the ranks. So all my restaurants have head chefs who have come up through the ranks. And in fact, some of the restaurant managers are the same as well. So also they've learned what I like, but also I give them freedom on what they can do as well, so they can develop themselves. And you know what, even when I'm at the restaurant, we still stuff up. And I think when I'm not there, we still stuff up. We all make mistakes. I guess it's how you can learn from that mistake with the chefs and not be like perhaps the Gordon Ramsays of the world. But when I say, yelling at stuff and things like that is what I mean. But, learn from it, move on, and do it that way. And entrust them, have faith in them.
Which national cuisine is going to be the next trend?
It's a tough one, isn't it? I mean,
In order.
I just don't think you can go past. I think the Japanese, French food has obviously had an influence on cooking, Italian and Spanish, etc., with all these different awards going on around the world. I think Japanese culture and food and technique, you see it pop up everywhere. And I think the Japanese style of food and cooking and eating is going to keep rising. Susan?
Hello. So we all have our favourite go-to recipes. So if you're home, what's one of your favourite go-to recipes?
The barbecue. It would either be a grilled steak with barbecued asparagus or some steamed salmon with veggies or salad. I grow a lot of my salad and herbs at home, all organic, and just love picking herbs and stuff out of the garden. So I think that's cool. But I think for me, and just looking at what we ate today, simple. And I think if we all think about food, that simplicity is showcasing the ingredients. The lamb showcased with the pea and the mash, and that's what it's all about. Letting those really nice ingredients speak for themselves, rather than masking food with 25 different ingredients. That could be a wrap.
We'll let the man have dessert now.
Ladies and gentlemen, please thank Rick Mangan.